Now first one is soil separate. Now what is soil separate? It is soil separate is a mineral component. The mineral component constitute the larger volume of the mass, that is 45%, and play a vital role in determining most of the physical properties of the soil. This mineral portion consists of the particle of the various size. We all know the soil separate from the coarse to the clay. Soil scientists usually separate them into two convenient groups according to the size. The various groups like the gravels, sand, silts, clays are termed as a soil separate or the fraction. The process of determining soil separate below 2 mm in the diameter is called mechanical analysis. So soil separate, that is the individual particles, and it is grouped according to the size. So bigger particles gravels to the very small particle clays, and this all called the soil separate. Now the classification of the soil separate. Soil separate have been classified differently by various soil related national agencies or institutions. The first one is USDA, United States Department of Agriculture. It also gives the classification of the soil separate. Then BSI, British Standard Institute, also give the classification. Then IUSS, International Union of Soil Science, they also give the classification, and United States Public Road Administration is also gave the soil separate classification. So here, first one USDA system of that soil separate classification. So this classification here we see that more than 2 mm, then it is gravel, then very coarse sand, medium, fine sand, very fine sand, silt and clay. So by this way, the soil, these are the soil separate which is distributed according to their size. So this is USDA classification. Now international system of soil separate classification. So here in our India we follow this classification, international system of soil separate classification. So this is commonly followed in India. So here we see the gravels more than 2 mm size, coarse sand 0.2 to 2 mm, fine sand 0.02 mm to zero point 0.2 mm, silt 0.002 mm to zero point 0.02 mm, and clay less than 0.002 mm. So this is the classification of the soil separate that is commonly used in India, and these are the soil separate according to international system of the soil classification. Now characteristic and physical nature of the soil separate. So we all know that these among the all soil separates, these three separates is very important, that is sand, silt and clay. Now sand, the separates are large in size particle and have the large size of the pore space, hence they facilitate easy percolation and encourage aeration, and their water holding capacity is low, they do not possess plasticity. So here, this sentence is given for that the soil which having the large amount of the sand particles. If large amount of the sand particle is there, then the pore space is very large size pore space is there, means more amount of the large size pore space is there. Water easily percolated. It encourages the erosion, so more room is there in the soil. So it can encourage the erosion, and their water holding capacity is low, and does not possess the plasticity. The another soil separate is clay. Soil separate are smaller in size and possess fine pore space. With the decrease in particle size, there is a decrease in aeration and percolation rate. The water holding capacity of the soil is very low. Properties such plasticity, swelling, cohesion, etc. are very high. So this clay particle is smaller size. So due to the smaller size, the fine pore space is high, then it decrease in aeration and percolation. Then water holding capacity of the clay is very high due to this uh, fine pore space is more. So the total pore space is very high in the clay. clay particles, and properties such as like the plasticity, swelling, cohesion is very high in this. The soil is dominating with the clay particle. The silt separate are intermediate in the size. Silt are also properties somewhat intermediate between the sand and clay. So some the when the soil is dominating with the silt, or means high amount of the silt present in the soil, so it is somewhat it is behave like the clay soil, or sometime it is behave like the sand sandy soil. So this all the properties of this physical property of the silt is somewhat intermediate between these sand and clay particles.